Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I have potential spoilers for the next update. So if that's not something that's interesting to you, you should mute the video, open up another tab on your browser, and go do something else while this video plays out so I can still get the clicks and the ad revenue. Really appreciate it. For those of you that are interested to see and hear what I've found, I haven't actually found it myself, but big shout out to Proshin31 on Reddit for data mining the following token. And for those of you that don't know what that token symbolizes, it looks kind of weird. It's some sort of blue gold lightning bolt. Well, if you compare it to the Thanos armor that has been teased and shown in magazine covers from Empire and different sort of screenshots, you can see that it's pretty much a dead-on comparison for the kind of top portion of his helmet, the kind of forehead portion. So what does this mean? Well, probably you've guessed by now, if you've thought about it for more than 5 minutes, that yes, the next update pretty much perfectly lines up not only with Endgame, the Avengers like last Phase 4 movie or Phase 3 movie, or Phase 4. It also lines up with the 4-year anniversary for Marvel Future Fight. That's right, version 5.0.0, which is wild to see two colossal moments in MCU MFF history lining up like that. It's pretty amazing, to be honest with you. So we can expect a lot from this update. Every time we have an anniversary update, there's always a huge amount of content added. Content not only in terms of game modes, but also in terms of UI changes, massive overhauls and additions to things like your shield level, characters level, base level, tier 2, tier 3, etc. There's always been a pretty large shift, except for the 2 years ago when we had the kind of X-Men delayed update where the Guardians of the Galaxy were featured on the 2-year anniversary, and it was a bit of a dud, but it's okay because the one right after that was an absolute banger, and that was the introduction of the next epic quest. So what can we expect given that the next token, the 5.0 token, is indicating Thanos? We can expect a couple of things, I'd say. And of course, we can expect in Cynicalex language equals I am speculating, but I like to sound confident in what I say. So don't take any of what I'm saying as actual truth. I don't actually work for Netmarble. I don't actually have any sort of insider information. But I want to, of course, sound hype. I want to sound confident in what I'm saying, and I want you guys to be hype as well because I'm hype. So I do talk as though I know what's going to happen, even though I'm just speculating. But if I were a betting man, and if I were to bet, I would guess Thanos is going to come out of the gates swinging in this update, in this 5.0 update for Marvel Future Fight, because why else would they have a token around him? Every time they've had a token that relates specifically to a character, that character usually gets a huge bump. The Ant-Man token made Ant-Man tier 3. The Captain Marvel token made Captain Marvel tier 3. We've had some ambiguous tokens. And we've, of course, had some tokens that relate to characters that aren't necessarily getting their tier 3, but they're being introduced, like Crescent. But in in Thanos' case, he's not being introduced. He's already in the game. So we can safely suspect and speculate that he's getting tier 3. Tier 3 Thanos. Now, if he's like any of the other tier 2s, native tier 2s that gets tier 3, he's going to cost more materials. So you definitely want to make sure you have as close to 10 universal books as possible, because he's going to need those. He's going to need at least 1,200 cosmic cube fragments. It's possible that he'll need 1,600, which is double the amount that a regular tier 3 costs, but it's not necessarily a guarantee. But it's guaranteed he'll be at least 1,200, because that is what all of the native tier 2, tier 3s have cost until now. The only reason Thanos may cost more is because Thanos just costs more. Although he has the same base cost as Odin, Dormammu, and other native tier 2s, his uniforms have always cost more compared to any other character in the game, not only to purchase for crystals, but also to upgrade. They're extremely expensive. And so for that reason, it's possible that Netmarble will try to milk more out of us in terms of the tier 3 materials needed to rank him up and get him to the next level. With that being said, it's also not a bad idea to either start ranking up his gears, although they are extremely expensive, or at least to just stockpile resources so that you'll be able to get his gears up. Now, of course, if you're like me and you've been getting other characters to tier 3 in the meantime, that may not be possible, and who knows, maybe Thanos' tier 3 is not going to be the epic insanity that we think it's going to be. But it probably will be, let's be honest. In addition to Thanos tier 3, what else can we really expect? Well, we could see some sort of overhaul or some sort of addition to World Boss Ultimate, because they did do that last year by introducing Proxima and then, you know, slowly adding more. They may add some different ones. They may make some change to it. They may add extra rewards. I don't know. Some of those sound crazy, like extra rewards, but you know, we can always hope for more. But we could see some additional kind of tweaks or added modes to certain game modes that kind of revive them or bring them back. We could see the World Boss Invasion Thanos Infinity War chapter, which is the chapter we're on now. We could see that have an overhaul to reflect the new uniforms, possibly reflect a new difficulty, possibly reflect greater rewards. That would probably be one of the best changes they could make, given the fact that World Boss Invasion is fun, it's inclusive, and you can get very good rewards for it, especially if you get lucky and you get some of those bigger chests. In addition to Thanos, I would personally speculate that Doctor Strange is getting a tier 3. This is more my speculation than anything that's been hinted at all, mainly because he's kind of the yin to Thanos' yang. Originally, when Doctor Strange was introduced, the cinematic was him versus Thanos with a cup of tea. So there's kind of an antagonistic back and forth between the two of them. He obviously prominently featured into part 1 of Infinity War. He got his own uniform despite the fact that it was only 350 crystals at the time, and he didn't really fit in with any of the other characters. And he's also the only Epic Quest native tier 2 to not have a tier 3 yet. Deadpool got his, of course, when he was introduced. Wolverine just got his, and then of course Mr. Fantastic got his as soon as he was introduced. So Wolverine is the only one lagging behind. Now that doesn't mean that he's going to get one for sure, but it would be very cool to see a hero and a villain get their tier 3. Additionally, because we are getting Endgame / Thanos themed tokens, I want to go back to that idea of tokens for a second and talk about the event quest. Now, it's not really that, it doesn't really pay too much to speculate about the event quest for those tokens, but it would be very cool, and I could see it happening because we're not likely to get new characters for Endgame. We're likely to get tier 3s and new uniforms and game modes that we could get tier 3 materials in the shop again. We've had them once before, and it was awesome to get cosmic cube fragments for tokens and things like that. So it would make a lot of sense, especially if they're dumping 2 tier 3s on us, especially if they're both native tier 3s, which means that you'd need at minimum 2,400 CCF to tier 3 both Doctor Strange and Thanos, which is insane. And if they possibly added extra characters to that list of tier 3s, a lot of people have been asking, for example, for tier 3s for Hulk for a long time. Now, we've had kind of almost back-to-back combat tier 3s in Mr. Fantastic and now Wolverine, so I kind of doubt we're seeing another combat type for a while, but there you go. We've also seen people hoping for tier 3 Black Widow because she's a kind of an OG Avenger and she's featured prominently in the new movie. And, you know, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Cap, they already have their tier 3s. Thor has a tier 3, Captain Marvel has her tier 3. In addition to those 2 characters, you also have the kind of lowly Hawkeye. Now, of course, everyone wants to see a Ronin uniform, myself included, and I doubt Netmarble will miss the opportunity to knock it out of the park with a Winter Soldier type upgrade to Hawkeye, especially after the completely gross response that they got from this classic uniform and the fact that it didn't actually change anything about the character. But on top of that, yeah, tier 3 Hawkeye. I mean, it's out of the park. It's definitely a far left field speculation type thing, but it's possible. But definitely, I would say, you know, there's at least a 50% chance at this point. I'm obviously flipping a coin, but Thanos tier 3, and then possibly others, game mode changes, and things of that matter, and then overhauls possibly to the UI, overhauls to the way that we play certain game modes, possibly the way that we interact with the game on a certain level. I don't know. I mean, you know, they've made drastic changes in the past to things like boost points, hot time, if you guys remember what that is, and so on and so forth. Even world boss buffs that we used to have for clearing a certain number of kills in the day. But now I want to pass the question on to you guys. What do you think More importantly, what do you want from the Endgame update? What do you think Netmarble should do to celebrate their 4th anniversary? And how can they really pack a punch in a movie that is supposed to wrap things up and kind of close the door on a lot of these characters' stories? I have no doubt in my mind, for any of you skeptical people or any of you naysayers out there, I have no doubt in my mind that this game is going to not only grow and be healthy, but even improve and get better and stronger and more popular after Endgame. I don't think that Endgame is going to be the end for anything in Marvel Future Fight except the movie stuff. We're not going to see any more Endgame connections because it'll be over. But it definitely is not the end. There's so much to pull from in the comics world. I mean, just looking ahead past Endgame, you've got, of course, Spider-Man Far From Home. You've got possibly Dark Phoenix after the acquisition from Fox, although it's a long shot. But then even in the comics, you have War of Realms, which heavily features so many epic characters from Marvel Future Fight that are just Marvel, characters. And possibly Thor could get a rework or some sort of buff there because he has fallen behind a little bit. But there's definitely no shortage of There's no shortage of content to come for months, years, and possibly longer. So hit me up in the comments down below. Hit me up on Discord, Twitch, Twitter, etc. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.